Welcome to Wellbeing with Manny in conversation with. What we hear and what we listen to throughout our day can shape how we feel. If we feed and nourish our soul with wholesome conversations from everyday people, filled with positive stories that people can relate to, we may feel less alone and even inspired. We're all working through our own stuff, and sometimes you need to hear people's failures, successes, and everyday struggles. Wellbeing with Manny in conversation with is talking to everyday people about how they have journeyed life so far, with hopefully some amazing take-homes and some top tips for you. Thanks for joining us each week for another amazing conversation. It really is all about talking. So think, reach out, talk to somebody. Who will you have a conversation with? Hello, Jonny Landels.
Hi, Manny. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, it's quite a sunny morning actually for October.
It is. It's lovely here.
Yeah, it's lovely here as well. The last few days have been raining and miserable, so it's nice to see the sun. And yeah, I can't complain. Things are good.
Amazing. Thank you very much for joining us on Wellbeing with Manny in conversation with, and we're in conversation with Jonny Landels. So for those people that don't know Jonny Landels, what do we need to know about you? What do you do?
Okay, so I run a company known as Next Step Nutrition as my day job. I do many other things as well. You know, I play sport, I do amateur musical theatre, I go to the gym, I keep fit, I go on walks, read books and all the rest of it. So more to me as a person. But you know, we're here to talk well-being. So Next Step Nutrition is an online nutrition and fitness coaching company that goes against the grain, I think, in terms of what you would think of in terms of fitness. I think when people think fitness, they think broccoli, kale, smoothies, and misery.
Yeah.
And even, you know, harsh diets, restrictive approaches, and just, you know, failure after failure, which is just horrific. And the way that we work is we use a combination of coaching styles known as motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy to have conversations with our clients about the changes that they want to make that suit their goals, their values, and their individual circumstances. And then we help them make those changes in a way that suits them. And we provide guidance, we provide workouts, recipes, meal advice, if needed and where needed.
Yeah.
Rather than just providing them with a blanket meal plan, macro guideline, calorie target, or fitness plan that may or may not suit what they need. So we work individually with our clients for the most part, and it's online. So the way that we manage that is through the medium of Zoom, Zoom consultations with clients, and then we help keep them accountable through certain habit tracking and messages and you know, check-in forms and stuff if they need and want it. So again, it's very much dependent on what will help them be their most successful. But we are developing a group-based program for the start of next year, because we're aware that that level of accountability and conversation comes at a certain cost of time. So we're developing a group program which, rather than a 8-week transformation or 90-day shred or 4-week whatever as you see online, it's going to be a 6-month curriculum-based health and well-being program, which is going to be all about mindset, habits, holistic health. And it's going to start with a couple of weeks of assessment of the individual for themselves to go through. You know, why are they there? What are they actually hoping to achieve? Why is that important to them? What values and things do they have? What priorities do they have? How do they spend their time? And then we're going to go through our essential habits for health and well-being in a manner that anyone can adopt. So we'll have, you know, levels based on where they're at, and we'll help them with time management and priorities and crucial conversations and all the rest of the things that a lot of health and fitness coaches don't realize is what's stopping their clients from getting results.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches blame their clients for a lack of motivation or wanting it. Whereas they don't realize that all of their clients are mid-20 personal trainers who live and breathe in a gym and don't have partners or kids or anything else to revolve their life around. Whereas we're aware that regular people have kids, lives, family, jobs, responsibilities, and a whole other host of things, and they just want to look and feel a little bit better. Yeah. And we're going to help our clients achieve that in a way that works for them, rather than giving them kale, smoothies and misery.
Yeah. Amazing. And actually, obviously, I've known you for quite a long time, and I've come to you for advice on many occasions. And actually, you're now the only person whose opinion in terms of health and well-being for certainly relationships around food and exercise is the only person I'll really listen to. I just think you've nailed exactly what it is, and you just saying it's about the person, about the time that they've got, and everything being tailored to them. And for me, it's the mindset bit that's missing. And I think it's the same in so many industries. Obviously you're a performer, you know this as well, that actually when you learn your craft and you're on stage,
the
thing that we don't talk about ever is mindset. And as soon as you go into something, you might have the talent to do it, but up here you're not ready, you're not feeling it and that's a massive thing. And I think certainly in your industry for success, I think mindset's huge.
Massive. Mindset is the barrier towards any successful change that someone will go through. And it wasn't until I realized that, Manny, that my approach to health and fitness coaching changed. Because I throw rocks at coaches now who sort of offer meal plans and misery, and it's said in a bit of jest because it's kind of things that I've experienced in the past, but it's also the way that I used to coach because I didn't know any better. When I started coaching people, it's because I had a passion for helping others and wanting to help others achieve a change that had changed my life. But I didn't realize that I had used a certain approach that only worked for me in my instance and actually didn't continue to work for me once my priorities changed. And then I had to think, it was at the back end of last year after COVID had struck and we were kind of going into another lockdown that actually I had some of my darkest days in terms of confidence and mental health, because I really started to question whether I knew anything as a coach, which is interesting, right? Because you just said, oh, you're the only person I'll go to.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that comment, by the way, made me well up, because the amount of people that are out there in the space, for even one person to say that to me, that's like that's an achievement unlocked, because my life's mission has been to make myself as better, as good as I can, and to help other people. But to go back to that moment, I went through a really dark mental health period and a really, really bad depression, actually, that's only sort of started to come out on the back end of this summer. And people who look at me on the outside in might not know that. But it came because I'd lost a few clients through COVID, and I was thinking more about my values and the way I coached. And I was coaching a certain way that I thought worked, but actually wasn't working for a lot of people. There are a lot of people coming to me, and I was talking about flexible dieting and, eating what you like but getting results, but I was giving everyone calories and macros and asking them to track their food and all the rest of it, because that's the way that I'd been taught. And it wasn't working for a lot of people, and I didn't really understand why. So I had to really dig deep, and long story short, I ended up doing a year-long course in behavior change and nutritional counseling, as well as a CBT diploma.
Amazing.
Because I started to think, right, if I can how can I help people affect real change within themselves and enjoy doing it in a way that suits them? What other techniques are there to help people affect health and well-being change that doesn't involve tracking their food and you checking in with me weekly with a food diary? People don't want to do that for the rest of their lives. And it was through that course that I then discovered a lot of more of my own, I did a lot of seeking my own values as well, of like, okay, well, what do I want health and fitness to look like? How do I think a good relationship with food looks, and how should people view their food, or for a better life? And that was a long process that then led to me to this place of, it's got to come down to that individual. So, some people that I work with do track their food, but it's because they want to. And they're aware of how that method works, and they believe that will help them with their current goal. And then we have a plan that as soon as it doesn't work for them anymore, then we won't use it, rather than giving a set plan to everyone. You're going to have some people get results and you're going to have a lot of people not. And rather than blaming the client, it was me addressing my own limitations as a coach, actually, and thinking, okay, well, there are always two people in a conversation. And actually, if your client isn't getting results, it might be about what you're saying. And I had to do some deep reflection on that, and it led to a low in confidence of being like, fuck me, like I actually don't know anything. But that exploration has led me to the other side, to being not only a much more confident coach, but being a much better coach. I have people coming to me now from all walks of life who say to me, certain things, and because of the coaching practices I've worked on and continue to work on, I can help them. Whereas before I'd been like, so you don't want to use my fitness pal? And they're like, no. And I'm like, meal plan?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
Yeah. But it's so refreshing to hear, because actually there's so many people who are going about their business who just kind of stay on this path. And if they're not, either themselves or as a trainer or as a coach, if it's not working, it's someone else's fault. Or, well, I've always been doing it this way, so it's fine. Whereas,
why can't you do it like me?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's so refreshing to hear someone say, maybe actually that was something I was doing. And I've certainly found that in my own career when I've been doing vocal coaching. Not everything works for the same way for certain people. And sometimes that's, a psychological situation. Someone said something to them about something, therefore they can't do it that way. Yeah. And also science changes. We learn more, research changes, we learn more about stuff, and things that we thought were true then are actually, proven to be different. And we have to roll with that and move with that. And otherwise we never have any self-growth.
Exactly. And I mean, to go back to your original question, because I realized I tangented on the sort of
mindset aspect. Tangents are great.
So the mindset, obviously, I realized how powerful it was with my sort of own mental health problems. And then as I explored that avenue more, particularly with sort of CBT and with motivational interviewing, which are two sort of coaching practices we use at Next Step, it was discovering the issues people had with their thought patterns, which were creating their reality. And people don't realize that they're telling themselves stories every single day. And whether those stories are positive or negative will determine your outcome.
Yeah.
And that's quite a hard thing to wrap people's head around, because they're like, well, no, but this is shit. And you're like, yes, okay, that is shit. But you're also telling yourself a story about a certain reality that actually isn't true. And this happens with food and fitness all the time. Like, the negative stories will be, I can't control myself around food. I have to exercise like this, otherwise I'll get really fat. Or I have to track calories because otherwise I can't control myself. Or I can't have biscuits in the house because otherwise I'll just eat them all. And like, oh, well, I always just eat when I'm stressed and I'm emotional. And these people are giving themselves absolute statements with their stories in their head, rather than, and this is something I picked up from sort of meditation and headspace, is viewing thoughts and feelings like clouds in the sky that come and go. And you're telling yourself this story of, oh, I can't control myself with biscuits. Okay, that's come from a background history of a certain stream of events and a certain habit, maybe. But what if you told yourself a new story? Like, what reality do you want? Do you want to never have biscuits again?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be in a place where you can control your urges and have one or two and enjoy them?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd rather have the latter. Okay, well, how do we start working towards that?
Yeah.
And it's not a simple process by any means, but it's a case of working with that individual and helping them, like you'd help someone with a phobia with a kind of a gradual, reintroduction to that thing. So in fitness, there's a kind of belief of like, oh yeah, well, if you don't have trigger food in the house, then you won't eat it. It's like, that worked when we didn't have Deliveroo and news agents on every corner, and the ability for someone literally to throw a pizza through my window without me having to leave my chair. Right? Like, if I want to eat junk food, I will do it. And actually, by removing all those things from the house and banning them as bad foods, you're actually going to want them more. And so it's finding a place where you give yourself unconditional permission to eat the foods that you love, which is an intuitive eating concept. But then pairing that with certain guidelines that match your current goals and your current values, as opposed to having it black or white, which is what a lot of people do. In terms of the science that you mentioned continually changing, yes, it does. And as a practitioner, I think you should always be investing in your development, because if you're not, you're going to be left behind. So a lot of my money every month goes to personal development in terms of being at the top of my field. But also on that front, if you're a Gen Pop listening to this, and by that I just mean someone who isn't into the fitness industry, please don't look at new research blanketly, because there's a really big hole that people can fall into when it comes to the way that media and certain blog articles and certain influencers and even doctors on Twitter and Instagram can portray new research, and then discredit all previous research that could have been done better, more controlled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we get lost in this idiom of, oh my word, eggs actually do kill us.
Yeah.
And we forget of all the previous research that tell us actually no, they're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like there's a silly advert. Well, it's not silly, it's quite good on at the moment, and it's loads of people doing work on their house, putting TVs up, and everything's going wrong. Have you seen it? There's like a hole in the wall, the TV falls off, and it's basically saying get the experts in. And I'm not always saying that you need an expert, but when you're somebody trying to navigate a world that isn't your world, it's always a really good idea to speak to, you know, like if it was a fitness or food situation, it'd be speaking to somebody like yourself. Get the knowledge that they do for a living. That's their job. You know, you're not really somebody who, I wouldn't look at new fitness research and understand it because it isn't my world. And I think that's really important. If I don't understand something vocally or something new's happening, I'll speak to somebody who is what I call higher up on the food chain to help me.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't claim to know everything. And I think it's such a good point.
There's a humbling nature in admitting that you don't have the answers and need help, right? And people then get surprised with that when I say to them, well, you know, I pay money for research reviews and coaching and for all of these resources to help me become a better coach. And they're like, well, I thought you knew it. I'm like, well, I know a lot, but there will also always be more than I can't learn. And as someone who is an evidence-based fitness professional, yes, I love research, but I can't read research very well because I'm not a scientist. I did science at A level, but I didn't do a degree in these things. There you go. So I didn't do a degree in these things like a lot of these, you know, PhDs and people. PhDs are people who have had to do research to get that PhD. And so by me signing up to a research review, and for people who don't know, a research review is basically a team of researchers will give you a breakdown of latest scientific research in the topic, and they'll break it down for you and say, this is what the researchers did, this is how they analyzed it, and therefore we can interpret these as these results. However, these are the limitations, and the ideas for further research would be these things. And so really what we can take away is this maybe happens in this population of maybe these people. And it's like, that's how research actually is. But you'll then see a headline being like, 1 egg a day gives you cancer, and you're like, fuck me, that's not what I said at all. But you know, I ask for help, you ask for help, but with food and fitness, Manny, this is the difference, right? Everyone can see that, like, okay, I might be able to paint a wall, maybe, but I can't really cut in or whatever. And so people don't really value paying a painter unless they're really flush with money. Wallpaper is kind of like another level up, and then you know, putting your TV on a wall, oh well, like, it doesn't really matter. But if it was to build a kitchen or to fit a window, they'd be like, right, I need someone's help because otherwise this is going to go, you know, I'm going to blow myself up. Or like, I can't fix my car because I will literally die. There's a level of knowledge people think they have. And unfortunately with food and fitness, it's at the bottom of the chain because people think they should know how to eat well and exercise. And so there's a little bit of a block there, embarrassment in terms of I should know this. You know, I'm a human being, eating is standard function, and moving is standard function for a human being. So why can't I do this? Like I was taught this as a kid. And therefore they're like, so I don't need to ask for help. I'll figure it out. There's enough things out there for free that I can kind of work on. But what people don't realize is that actually the environment we live in as human beings now is far from normal. We're not brought up with great relationships with food and exercise because neither were our parents. And that's a fault of the current media. TV, newspapers, magazines, Instagram, Facebook. Some of the most poisonous things actually for a healthy attitude for food and exercise are those things, those exact things we're looking for information. And the sea of information in the libraries and in the internet is all so dichotomous, it becomes impossible to understand exactly what it is that we should eat. Because if you go to a library and look in the nutrition section, you'll find the paleo diet next to the vegan diet, next to the carnivore diet, next to the Atkins diet, next to the no fruit diet, next to the drink only water diet, next to the friggin' zone diet, and then the intermittent fasting, and then I mean, you know,
the list goes on.
I've heard all sorts, the metabolic diets, the homeostatic diets. And you're like, okay, literally, if I took every piece of advice from all of these books, I would go home drinking only water. So we need help. Because if you can't find an evidence-based practitioner to help you sift through that information and find out actually what it is that works for you, you're going to struggle for a long time.
And so many people listening to this, especially people of kind of my generation, your generation, if you were kind of, and I'm saying the word unlucky because it's true, unlucky enough to have a parent that was completely and utterly on a diet every single week of their life, were doing something different, then they'd fall off the wagon, then they needed to lose 10 pounds because we were going on holiday, and then they start the new diet. I mean, that, you know, and I mean that with no disrespect to my family, but that was my experience. So,
Yeah.
and also that then leads to a cycle of negative chat around body image to impressionable people, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a hard thing. So for me, there's a couple of things to pick up on. So the first thing is thank you for opening up about your own dark time and moments of depression. That's, you know, that's a lot to share, and we appreciate it. And people that, you know, are listening will have gone through times like that. How did you get yourself through that? How did you navigate yourself back to more of a balanced place?
Really difficult, really, because I've been through some like pretty tough things as a person, and it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I started to have like quite negative thought patterns and be consumed with them quite a lot. And when I look back, actually retrospectively on my life, I can piece together really, really strong links as to why that is. And actually, I've had an undercurrent of disbelief in myself for a long time. And that came from like a constant need to be affirmed that I was doing the right thing or a good job. And I think that stems back to, you know, losing my dad as a teenager, because I lost that that father figure in my life who would have been there to affirm, guide. I've walked I've walked in your shoes, son, and I've been where you've been. But then, funnily enough, I can look back at my dad and also know that I didn't see him show emotion very often at all.
Okay.
And he came from the school of thought of, well, men don't cry.
Yeah.
Boys don't cry. And so I then struggled with this mindset of like, okay, well, I'm a guy, I'm a man. I'm a man. But I'm feeling emotional. How am I supposed to display this? And I'd always been a really positive chappy. So then early 20s, when I started to struggle with my mental health issues, I was like, you know, is this because there's things in my life that I'm not happy with, or I just didn't understand it. So I was doing a job that I enjoyed, and I was living, you know, I had friends and enough money and all these things. And so I was like, I don't know why I'm sad. Like, there's nothing to be sad about. I just really didn't understand it at all. And that's when I went through it. And so it's been up and down. And this period last year, and where it came back again, I looked at myself and I was like, well, there are certain habits and actions that I know work for me that I'd just let slide.
Yeah.
And I'd found myself in a very, very self-critical manner about nearly everything that I'd done. And it wasn't until I, fun enough, started this behavior change coaching course, and they started teaching me, because a lot of it wasn't about nutrition at all. You know, a lot of the issues we have about food and fitness have nothing to do with food and fitness, and everything to do with things far deeper. Emotion, stress, negative self-talk. And we had to do a self-compassion test, which asked you a bunch of questions, and it was a score out of 5. And my score was like 1.15. And it was like a score of anything lower than 3 was deemed as like low self-compassion. And I was like, wow, mine's really bloody low. Wow. And that was an interesting angle for me, because I'd never thought about the self-compassion term.
Yeah.
And as I did more research into it, and the course gave us more research about it, I was able to analyze my history and be like, okay, yeah, so not only have I let go of things that were helping me, like exercise, sleep. I mean, I always exercised, but it was not as consistent as it used to be. I wasn't sleeping very well. I wasn't eating as well as I could have done. And I wasn't doing things like meditation and journaling and reading and things that like helped me keep level-headed. Yeah. And then I was paired with a low confidence at work. And then a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of lack of self-compassion. And then so by developing some affirmations and positive self-talk that worked for me, and for people who are listening to this, they might kind of go for affirmations, because there's a school of thought that says affirmations are projecting yourself into the future and being your best self. Not true at all. Affirmations are actually affirmations of what you are currently doing that are great.
Yeah.
So what do you have great success in? What character traits? What have you done in the past where you've achieved something great or overcome a hurdle? That's self-compassion.
Yeah.
And so by developing a sort of self-compassion toolkit, as it were, and then developing a bi-daily habit of positive self-talk, and then a daily habit of meditation and reading and journaling, gratitude journaling, and all these things, I managed to start pulling myself out of it. And I got therapy.
Yeah.
You know, every time that I struggled with my mental health, I asked for help because I realized that something was wrong and I needed help fixing it. And it's hard as a bloke to admit that.
Yeah.
Because men don't cry. But this is why every year I grow a horrible mustache for November, and I try to. I'm thinking of something. Funnily enough, as someone who's into fitness, you can't do a standard fitness thing and raise money. You need to do something even more drastic, which is so annoying, but I understand it. I'm trying to think of some kind of endurance challenge I can give myself in November this year to raise money for it, because mental health is important with everyone. You know, physical health is important with everyone, but with men in particular, I've got a real, I guess I've got a real personal mission for men's health, both physical and mental, and that comes down to watching my dad pass away through a severe lack of self-care, both physical and emotional. Knowing that I myself have struggled with my mental health, and loads of other men do and don't ask for help. And then just knowing that health in general goes far deeper than the food that you eat and the exercise that you do. But the things in the background affect those things, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So
yeah, amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that as well, because that is, you know, that's a hard thing for you to talk about, but it absolutely resonates with people. And, you know, for me, just picking up on a few things there in terms of, you know, what people can do if they're feeling, you know, apart, you know, obviously professional help would always be the top tip, reaching out, and but you mentioned journaling, you mentioned meditation. Just Johnny's self-care tips, just to kind of go back through them.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Manny, because, like, you know, we were talking about asking professionals for help and all these things, but obviously budget reasons are a big thing for many people. And I understand that in terms of, it's funny because health and fitness, yes, it does cost money to see an expert like myself, because I also need to put food on the table. And I'm a professional, and I understand then that it's out of people's reach because they have other priorities to pay for, like food and childcare. And mental health is a similar thing. You know, if you tried to wait on the NHS for mental health support, you know, you'd be waiting a long time, which is tragic. But unfortunately, they're great, and they only have so many resources. So I'm not going to knock them, because we couldn't live without them, let's be honest.
Of course.
But there are places that you can go to for free help. Right. So if it's fitness, you know, I've got a bunch of different blogs. I've got video series, I've got lead magnets, I've got podcasts coming out of my ears. Just go in and listen to all of that, and that should help you, hopefully. When it comes to mental health support, there are charities out there that are doing really great things, particularly for both men and women. Right. And for men, there's two channels on Instagram I would help people with, and that's Brotectors and Andy's Man Club, because they have actual clubs that you can go to. And they also have loads of stuff on their Instagram. In terms of Jonny's self-help tips, if you are talking to yourself negatively, you need to understand where that is coming from. And that, as you mentioned at the very, you and I talked about the blurb that you're going to have opening this podcast. We are the creation of our surroundings. So if you're watching negative news, if you're hanging out with negative people, if you're following things on social media that you think are trying to inspire you but actually make you feel shit, cut them out immediately. Cut them out immediately. You don't need to watch the news. Nothing's going to happen in the world that you need to know about that someone won't tell you about. You don't need to watch it. If you want to be compassionate to your fellow man, donate to charity. We're all aware that there are horrific things out there, but we can't actually change those things. We can if we devote our life to them, and people have those values, and that's great. Like, I donate, Next Step Nutrition as a company donate to charities that do, you know, food and water and stuff, because it's a nutrition company, and I thought that kind of matched, and I raise money for charities that are close to my heart, just like everyone. You know, that's a great thing. Go and do it. But negative inputs do affect things, and particularly social media is really dangerous. Like you said, you hate Facebook.
I do.
I only use Instagram. I only use Instagram for work.
Yeah.
And I had to curate my Instagram feed because I was following a lot of people that actually made me feel very bad about myself and my achievements.
Yes.
And so at first I followed them for help. And then I realized actually their content just made me feel like shit.
Yeah.
And if you have that in your life, just cut it out. It's not helping you. Stop reading Hello Magazine and all these things that actually just make you feel jealous and shit about your life.
Yeah.
Understand that anything that's in a magazine or on social media is a highlight reel. And everyone that's, you know, like I said to you there, like people looking at my content probably wouldn't have realized I struggled with mental health. Apart from the fact I spoke about it in my content because I was trying to be real. And reminding you that this is a highlight reel. And to everyone that's having a great holiday, you know, there's a great book called Everybody Lies. And it's about how even the person you think has a perfect job and a perfect relationship and a perfect lifestyle argues with their spouse, has you know, the same fears about their genitalia size and their confidence in work. And they're googling the same, they have the same insecurities and worries and mental health problems that you do. But they're just showcasing a highlight reel for their friends and family to see that they're okay. So curate your feed, get rid of anything negative that makes you feel like shit, get rid of people in your life that make you feel like shit, even if they're your mates. If they're constantly criticizing you and putting you down, tell them to fuck off. You know, you don't have time for that in your life. Find the people that will bring you up and make you feel better. Absolutely. Because there will be people out there who you think are your mates, but actually they keep you around because they can put you down and they make them feel better about themselves. And okay, yeah, they need help. Ask them if they're okay. Ask them if everything's okay at home, because it could be coming from somewhere deeper. But if that continues to happen, just get rid of them. Don't text them back. You can find people that are better for you. But yeah, journaling, really useful. And there's something called the Mind Journal, by the way, which gives you prompts, because obviously writing down blank really struggles for people. Meditation really helps. A lot of people feel like it's a waste of time. It's not. Download the app called Headspace.
We spoke about that yesterday, because I said that I think meditation, the word, puts people off. It makes people feel like it's inaccessible, but I agree with you. Something like Headspace, something that's maybe guided to start with, so you understand
Headspace of courses, and you can start with as little as 1 to 3 minutes. Again, you know, my whole coaching platform is about helping people find what works for them. With Headspace now, because it's been going for so long, you've got an extensive library of different courses and packs for different things. And the meditation itself is always the same in terms of what happens after the 3-minute blurb, but there's a 3-minute blurb at the start of the Headspace which gives you the intention for the session. And then they guide you through it, you know, and out of it again. And they've got music and movement, and you know, so if you prefer to listen to music, if you prefer to move, whatever, there'll be something there that works for you. But it's about taking time for yourself. That's key. And I think a lot of people forget about that, Manny. Like, you know, you're a mother with 2 kids, you're also a wife, and you have a career, and you know, you have 2 careers really, because you're doing this, and your career is in helping other people, right? You helped students like me navigate university, both the and you were very acceptable as a lecturer. You know, you were interested in our lives deeper than what we were doing on stage, because you realized that we were at a pivotal point of our life cycle of, you've just left the nest and now you're about to go out into the real world, and that's a pivotal point in our development. Likewise, you're working now with professional performers who are several years down the adult life cycle, who are like, oh yeah, life's a lot more difficult than I fucking realized. And for people like you and I, or for people who are parents who love their jobs and they love their families, we look after everyone else and forget to look after ourselves. And it's a hard concept to understand, putting your oxygen mask on first, because you think, well, what do I do about the other people? And it's a common emotional and logical gap when people kind of read fitness content of like, put your own mask on first. There are ways for you to take time out of your day to look after yourself while still looking after other people. Looking after yourself will allow you to look after other people more effectively. And if the other people cared about you too, if you had a crucial conversation with them about your needs as an individual, they would understand and they would do their best to help you achieve those things as well.
Amazing. I feel like I've been in therapy now for like 35 minutes just listening to you. You're
It would
just
be different if we were
so
in therapy,
amazing.
because I would be asking the questions and you'd be speaking. So that's the thing as well. Like a
Amazing.
coaching service would be very different than you listening to me on a podcast.
Yeah,
People might listen to me
of
on a podcast
course.
and be like, fuck me, this guy never shuts up. I won't get a word in edgeways.
No, I know what he's like. He's amazing. He just listens. I know. But honestly, it's just it's amazing just to hear all this, because it really does. They're all the things that we kind of know that we should be doing as well, but we just, there's a point at which you have to kind of get, well, it's something that I certainly know that I should be doing. And there's certain things I have cut out. I think for me, the cutting out of people that don't serve me, the kind of not following anyone on any of the socials that make me feel like less than. That's really important. Those have been two massive things that certainly I've worked on, that I absolutely know work. So,
yeah, it's a hard one for people to get over, because people are like, well, but I've known this person for ages, or I'm just trying to be nice type thing. But it's where, like, Mark Manson actually on Instagram is someone who I'd recommend everyone follows, and his books, How to Not Give a Fuck and Everything Is Fucked, are both really, really great recollections of understanding your personal values and living by them. And when you said there, Manny, of like, oh, well, we know we should be doing this.
Yeah.
A self-compassion tip as well is to not should yourself.
Don't should yourself. I know this. Yeah, don't should yourself.
We can feel guilty for it. And unfortunately, like I made a joke about how I'm different as a coach to how I'm appearing on this podcast. You've asked me for sort of tips and tricks and things like that. And in a term of giving value, I'll be giving advice. But if someone were to see me as a client, it would be much more a conversation of, well, something that's worked for other clients are these things. If any of these things, which one appeals to you most? Yeah. Because then you have the freedom to say none of them. Yeah. And we can explore something else that may work for you. Rather than the classical fitness coach is oh, right, okay, you're a mother of two, 40 years old, you want to lose 5 pounds and you like to run. Okay.
This is what we can do.
Do that. Do that. And I'll catch up with you in a month, see how you're doing. No, mate. So don't should yourselves. Yeah. And I know that's another should. You shouldn't should yourselves. But that act of self-compassion is so key, right? We've all got different circumstances. You've listened to a bit of my backstory about the different things I've struggled with and different things that have challenged me, even just at the age of 31. People have, life is messy. Yeah. Right? People have real problems and real issues, and they have issues with their relationships, and they have issues with their friendships, they have issues with their jobs, they have issues with their confidence, they have issues with their kids, and all of these really, really tough things. And so then to should yourself about health and fitness, you're just adding to a lot of stress. Yeah. And it's about doing what you're capable of. Yeah. And then, if you want to change things, knowing that you can't do it all at once, it's going to be difficult, but it's about making some small changes that you feel happy about, confident in doing. And then the ball starts rolling. Yeah. You're like, right, oh man, I managed to not have 3 lattes a day. I cut that down to 1 latte a day. Yeah. And I've managed to stick with that change for 2 weeks. I feel really good about that because I've stuck with it. I'm feeling confident. Okay, now I'm going to try and add a portion of fruit as a snack. Yeah. Okay, 2 weeks later, I'm always eating that apple at 11 a.m. and that's helping my mid-morning munchies. Now let's add a serving of vegetables at dinner. Oh, cool, I've managed to keep that going for a couple of weeks. And that sounds really slow for people, but you've got to remember that life is not about dropping the same 7 pounds for the same holiday every fucking year. Yeah. And putting it back on after you've stopped doing the detox or the juice diet or whatever it was that helped you lose that water weight and had a poo. It's about making small, subtle changes to your daily routine that match your lifestyle and values, and that you're going to maintain. Okay, you can't exercise in a gym like I can, but can you take your kid on a bike ride? Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay, you can't go and you can't go and do a HIIT class at Barry's boot camp with all of the 25-year-olds who have no life, but you can go swimming with your child on a Saturday morning. Yeah. Do that. Yeah. Okay. You don't want to wake up every day and drink a smoothie of kale and misery, Neither do I.
No.
I had a sausage roll and a mocha this morning.
That is the content we're talking about.
You know what I mean? Where is the content that shows people how to be healthy and happy while eating a cupcake?
Yeah.
Ooh, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips.
No way.
Fuck off, mate.
Yeah.
And it's that content to unfollow.
And this is where you really help. That's the main thing where you really helped me change my mindset. I remember having a conversation with you a couple of years ago about my guilt of going for a coffee with the new mums group and agonizing about whether I was going to have a cake. I wasn't going to have a cake. I shouldn't really have a cake. And now none of these thoughts ever cross my mind at all. And maybe every now and then I'll have a little, maybe if I lost half a stone, but it's like, what would happen? If I lost half a stone, what would happen? Would I truly be any happier than I am now? No, I'm more than happy. And I've probably been the same weight for about 3 years since some of those big changes after having kids, that I kind of did lose some weight that I wanted to. Probably nothing's ever changed. And it's fine. And I don't agonize about that. I don't open the packet of biscuits and put them all in the bin outside of the wrappers so that I don't go back in the bin and get them with the wrappers and eat them. I don't do that anymore.
Exactly. You know, and right now, like, I'm looking down at my stomach roll that's sitting well over the waistband of my trousers and thinking, oh man, you know, like, why would people trust me as a fitness professional? But actually I'm in great shape and I'm very healthy. And people need to remember that, as you said, with the new mums and having that coffee and cake, what's going to make your life more whole? Is it about having some relationships with some real human beings and having a moment of joy? Or is it about saying, no, sorry guys, I can't do that because I'm following a diet and I'm trying to watch my liquid calories, so actually I'm going to go home and eat a rice cake and cry?
So miserable.
There's more to life than the way that you look. And yes, the way that you look delves into confidence and everything like that, but that's why we should be teaching people about having a confident, you know, helping people with their body image, and inspire confidence over the physical traits and the mental traits and strengths that they already have, rather than focusing on the ones they're not doing, because you can't hate yourself into change. Change has to come from a place of self-love, and then from a place of self-love, and it's like happiness isn't somewhere else. If you think happiness is a new car or a new job or a new relationship or a new thing, it'll never be where you are right now. It's about cultivating that in your own life, and then go, okay, maybe you don't enjoy your job, then change it. Maybe you don't enjoy your relationship. Okay, well, you either love that person and you want to go to therapy and you want to work on it together, because it's okay to ask for help. Navigating life is difficult, and people have their own values and emotions and mental stories. Really great book recommendation, by the way, is something called Crucial Conversations, because it's all about having conversations when the emotions and the stakes are high, which is anything that involves family and relationships, let's be honest. But it's about navigating those and being able to understand when you're telling yourself stories about the other person's intentions that you're not actually aware of. Different conversation, but, you know, ask for help. There are more spokes in the, we use an assessment sheet with our clients. One's called the stress web, one's called the resilience web, and one's called the life web. And what these do is they shade them out based on how much they feel resonance with a certain corner of that wheel, you know, certain spokes in the wheel. And in the life wheel, there's 6 spokes: financial health, emotional health, mental health, physical health, social health, and I always forget the other one, but there's more spokes on there than physical health. And we need to, just like I said, you know, thanks for the prompt of giving people advice that they can do for free. Financial health is a big one. So is social health, so is mental health, so is emotional health. We need to be cultivating great practices for these things and taking care of them, and that might mean having the coffee and cake with your mates is a better decision for your overall health than having a salad. And in that instance, that's where I talk about eating skills, eating guidelines, and value-based decision making alongside the intuitive eating concepts to help people make peace with their relationship with food, have a healthier life. And then if they're in a place where they're willing to and wanting to make some health focused changes, how can we do that in a positive manner? And we focus on adding things with our clients, not necessarily giving them more shit to do, because we've all got limited time. And the whole, we've all got time, you're just not making it a priority. Unfollow those people as well. Because we have the same 24 hours, but what we need to do with them varies massively from person to person.
Yeah.
Where was I with that? In terms of value-based decision making and intuitive eating concepts, we can then look at, okay, what health-based changes can we make which are going to be positive? So it's not about cutting food out, it's more adding things in.
Yeah. Amazing. Jonny, I could honestly talk to you all day. I appreciate you coming on and just chatting. It's amazing. And it's so wholesome, and it resonates so much with loads of stuff that I know that we've talked about before, and just stuff that I know that people will be able to take home and feel that they can maybe just, even if one person just makes a couple of changes to make them feel a bit better and live a bit more happy, then that's our job done. So I can't thank you enough. Thanks so much for all your
I love it.
All your wisdom.
Thank you. Come on at any time, Manny. You know me.
Thank you.
We can talk all day. It's when you talked about starting this channel and doing the thing that you're doing now, I was like, that's so cool, because you know, you've been so passionate about it for so long, and I just want to reiterate, you know, like when I throw rocks at things like meal plans and coaching in a certain way and giving people descriptions, I understand that doesn't come from a place of malice all of the time. There are some fitness bellends out there that will do it just to make a quick buck, but there are some people who, like me as a younger Jonny, I did that because I thought that was the best way to help people, because that was the way that I had been taught. It was the only thing I had. It was the only tool I had in the toolbox. But understanding that limitation, and then again, there's something in motivational interviewing, avoiding the expert trap and avoiding offering unsolicited advice as someone who's trying to help someone with their well-being is so key. Because you do it out of a place of help. You're like, oh right, I know what you should do, I have the answer, because you think that's what they want, but actually what people need is a good listening to, which is a quote in motivational interviewing. It's not mine. People need to be listened and heard, and actually there's a key thing called affirming and reflecting change talk. So if someone says to you, I know I can do this because in the past I've done X, and actually I'm really positive about making this change, you just say it back to them in your own words and summarize it for them, and you sound a little bit like a parrot, but actually you're helping the client. You're basically holding up a mirror to the client and showcasing their best self. So you're saying, you've shown great strength in changing your body in the past, you know that you can do it again, but you're excited to try a new way, which is this new habit that you're going to focus on. Exactly that. And you're like, I know it's exactly that, you just said it. But it helps people then reaffirm them rather than maybe taking them in. Do you know what I mean? We can
absolutely.
But you know, if this has piqued someone's interest who listens and they work with people and they want to know more about it, then message me. But check out the book Motivational Interviewing in Nutrition and Fitness, because it's that specific book that I'm reading for a second time now that will help with that. But you know, if anything has touched on people, then just hit me up on Instagram. Happy to answer questions all day long.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure we put all those links in the show notes, as they say. I don't know what any of that means yet, but you know, we'll do.
Easier than me saying it, right? Because then people are like, John, how do I spell Jonny?
Is
it with an H? Is it I-E? Is it, you know? So just put that link in.
We will sort all of that out. So thank you, Manny. Thank you.
My pleasure as always.
Thank you for being part of this Wellbeing with Manny community. It really means a lot to me that you can spare some of your precious time to listen to these conversations. Please share this episode with anyone you think would benefit from hearing these open and real conversations. And remember, talking is key. Who will you have a conversation with?